Okay, thank you very much. I would like to
pleasure.
introduce you. Benny is one of the best colleagues I have ever worked with in Israel. We've met like 5 years ago, I guess. And Benny currently is a VP of R&D in the company Van, which is very interesting, and I hope that you will describe it in the details a little bit later. Also, you have been holding this position, the VP of R&D, in several companies for like a decade, I guess. And it is also a very interesting fact. And I was always inspired about your diplomatic approach, about the way you communicate with people, about how you handle all the situations inside the team, and I was always inspired about that. So that is why I'm here in Israel to take this interview with you, and thank you so much again
Cool. My
for
pleasure.
taking part in that. So you are for a very long time in tech world. Can you just describe something about how did you enter that market, this business, and why did you decide to go there?
Okay, so the funny story is that I started to study computers at high school because I didn't want to learn Arabic, and that was the only class that didn't taught Arabic. So that was kind of the excuse. Thinking back, big mistake, not learning Arabic, but this is it. So started to learn at high school. Before that, I kind of played with computers a little bit. We're talking about like ancient history. So the PC was something that was just invented. Computers like Spectrum or Commodore, Apple was just coming out as the big shiny thing. And from there, it's kind of was almost stronger than me, and I continued from the high school to the army, and actually before the army, university, studying computer science and operational research, and then joined the army in doing a job in one of the technological unit of the army. Spent there almost 8 years, and then continue my journey in the real world, whether in startup companies or big corporates, jumping between the two very different kind of companies, and doing very different kind of things along the way. And as you mentioned, in the last almost 15 years, being mainly managing development teams, and the last several companies being the VP R&D of the company.
Okay, so you always knew that you're gonna be in tech world. Like it seems
I think it was the easy choice. First, because I really enjoyed it, and at some point it was starting to be very hype, and a lot of opportunities, and the world kind of went to that way, and I was really kind of intrigued on everything that is possible with technology. And at the early days when I actually developed, that was probably the only thing that caused me to lose track of time, and I could sit and develop for hours, like literally forgetting to go home. Not being hungry, not eating, not sleeping, just coding like crazy. Looking at it as solving riddles and quizzes and hard problems. So I think one of the things I really liked is in every system that you are building, there is a small fraction of how I'm going to solve this. And this is the hard part. It probably takes something like 10% of the overall time, but this is like the most interesting part. And after you finish this one, you have like 90% of the time to do the actual work.
Okay.
Which is less interesting, but in order to get to the 90%, you need to go through the 10%, which is something that I really liked. So it kind of was something that very interesting for me to do, and kind of push my limits every time on how I'm going to solve this problem in this domain and so on. So it was really interesting for me.
And so you were kind of a very technical person. When did you decide that you have to go to management, like communicate with people and do this part of job?
Okay, so the first management position I had was in the army. That was after two previous roles I did, was that I was a developer. And got to the management thing without previous knowledge on what does it mean to actually manage.
People manage.
Yeah. But it came pretty natural for me to work with other people. I really like to work with other people. Put aside the term managing or whatever. Just working with people and being part of a team, it's something that I like more than doing something by myself. And then I started to see that I'm actually pretty good in that. And after the army, I kind of went back to being a developer in a team. And for something like 6 years, I continued to do that. And part-time job, also managing a small team, more on the side of the operation, what we call today DevOps. And after two startup companies that I worked as a developer, I got to my first managing position in a big corporate as a team lead in one of the development team. And that was the first time I actually managed developers. And again, it was really interesting for me to help people grow and understand and take my own philosophy of how I think I should do things. And
did you learn something for that, like have a couple of books or any courses or anything that helped you to grow?
During my service at the army, I went to MBA.
Okay.
And actually a lot of the things that I learned there was kind of out of context because I didn't do any managerial position at that time. So it was theory, and I didn't have any place to kind of practice what I learned. But eventually I think that you have a lot of the things are based on common logic. And if you behave like a real person and you treat others the same way that you want people to treat you, 90% of the job is done. Now you have all kind of tools and techniques on how you can motivate people in a better way, and how you can make a better use of time, and how you should manage better the project and stuff like that. So these are all kind of tools and techniques that you learn along the way, whether this is like formal courses in the university, or you see someone else is doing something and you kind of copycat, or you read articles or blog posts or stuff like that. And eventually you collect tools. You like this approach, you like that approach, you don't like this one, you dislike this one, and so on. And as time goes by, you find, whether intentional or not, that this is how you would like to run things. This is how you would like the team to work together. This is how you want to communicate with people. This is what are your kind of red lines, and you're not going to cross them. And this is how you want to be treated, and how you want to treat others, and so on and so forth. And it's kind of getting better and better as you go, and things are changing from what you feel or think to what you know. But it takes time for that to mature, and I think that today I have a very good philosophy on
based on common sense and
based on common sense and like the 10-15 years that I've been working in the industry and seeing things that I don't like and things that I do like. I think that one of the best mentors I had was probably the worst manager I ever had. So he taught me what I shouldn't do, which is great things to know, because it's not only about what you should do, but also about what you shouldn't do.
Okay.
So even that he was probably the worst, or kind of the most irrelevant manager I have ever had.
And you mentioned that it was important for you to join the business where it's more for B2C, for the end customer. And being working in AOL, where we met, you've been managing like 11 different locations in different parts of the world. Like, I know, the United States, then Israel, then the UK, Ukraine, Australia. So multinational team where you have to adapt, right? And find the right connection. And in terms of Ukraine channel, that would be really interesting to hear your feedback about how does it feel to work with Ukraine, and maybe what kind of the main challenges did you meet there?
Okay, so I think that eventually, if I'll go for a second to my management philosophy, I think managing people is not something that, as a manager, you have your own philosophy on, I need to manage people like that.
Okay.
The way I see it is that every person is individual, and you can't manage everyone in the same way. You need to manage everyone according to what he is, what are his needs, what is it that is driving him, what are his needs, and so on and so forth. So when you're thinking about working with a global team, you have, beside the fact that you have many people, you also have many cultures. And you need to take that into consideration, and this is part of when you're talking about how to manage or how to lead, which is, I think, a better word for that. You need to take into consideration the culture stuff and the language and the distance, and understand that people are not necessarily seeing things in the same way. And the way I see it, the most important thing about that, or to be able to succeed as a team versus to make every single person like by himself happy, you want to create a team. And to understand that, you need to understand that people needs to be aware of all the different aspects going on. And to achieve that, you need to have great, not less than that, communication.
Oh, it's very hard to do when you have 11 locations, I mean.
Yeah. So one of the things that we did in AOL was we had our quarterly summits, which was once in a quarter we gather, not everyone, but a lot of people. In some of the cases, it was more than 100 people came to a single location. And as part of that, people actually saw each other. It's not only talking via email or a conference call, but actually seeing one each other in face-to-face, and going outside after work hours to sit together and drink beer or go to a restaurant and stuff like that, and create the person-to-person interaction. Once you're doing that, you're kind of breaking the
ice.
the ice, and more than that, you see that there is a real person on the other side. And the second part was that a lot of time there is issues around miscommunication. So people understand something, but the other side didn't mean that. And usually what will people will kind of see or hear or read what they understand or what they are used to, and they will interpret what the other side said in that aspect. But assuming the other side is from a different culture, a different language, he doesn't have the same kind of understanding or philosophy or aspects, or even the way that he talks is a little bit different, then sometimes kind of lost in translation.
And nobody is native speaker,
Exactly, and you need to deepen the understanding on what exactly he meant. And one of the things I try to educate my team is that assume best intention. Don't assume someone is trying to screw you or to do harm to you or to put a bad light on you. Assume that he meant good and now there is some kind of miscommunication between the two of you that you need to understand. And I don't remember a single instance when we had some issue that after talking about what exactly did you mean when I fuck things up?
Okay.
Or stuff like that. So
give more details about it.
exactly. So once you start talking about things and put aside your assumptions about what he actually meant, and you ask him, what did you mean? And you understand that what he actually meant was good. Maybe the way that he said things was not great. Maybe he used bad language. Maybe, I don't know, tens of different things.
Exactly.
But eventually he didn't mean to harm you. Once you get to that point, you can kind of roll back all your assumptions. You said, okay, so I misunderstood you. No problem, we're good, let's fix this, and we're going to do better next time. So I think when you're working with, it's correct for even a small team like what I have today. I have a small team, everyone is sitting in the same office, everyone are speaking the same language, but still you have miscommunication between people because this is the nature of people. People are different. When you talk about a multinational team or people that are spread all over the globe, that is just making
Even
this problem harder. And you need to be very precise on don't jump into conclusion too quickly without talking with other person. In many cases, people were coming to me, and the first thing I ask is, did you talk with him?
No.
So, exactly. And people are kind of, instead of coming to me and complaining about the other person, why don't you do the first step and talk with him and understand? If you talk with him and you see that he's kind of completely out of line and so on, great, come to me. But start with talking with each other. Start to try to resolve the conflict by yourself. And people kind of, seriously?
But that helped, actually. I remember those stories, and it really helped. And when you started working with Ukraine team, did you have like an expectations that probably realized in future, or you probably miss like assumptions about working with the Ukraine team, and then your expectations were correct or they were not correct? Maybe you remember something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So one of the benefits probably being in Israel is that we have more than 1 million people that came from Soviet Union in the last 20 years. So whether they are Ukrainians or Russians or all over the Soviet Union, we have many. And a lot of them are working in the high-tech industry. So unlike, working with Chinese or Indian that you don't see a lot in Israel, Ukrainian people you see a lot. So the mentality and how they behave and so on, most of the Israeli, especially in high-tech companies, are familiar with them and know how things are working. So for me, I wasn't shocked about how to work with Ukrainian. It was pretty much what I expected. To some extent, I think that there is a lot of similarities between Ukraine and Israelis in the way they think and so on. I think if I try to kind of put some kind of things that are more different, I think Ukrainians are more straight and not looking for workarounds and stuff like that. Israelis, and this is part of being kind of the startup nation and all the stuff, we are trying to do things in a very different way. Sometimes this is causing clashes with people that want to...
But also brings a lot of energy, I think.
Absolutely.
This kind of clashes brings a lot of energy inside the team. So.
And I think that eventually the clashes are also coming based on professionalism. So in general, people from Ukraine as well as the whole Eastern Europe, I think in general, you see high level of quality and a desire to do things in a very professional way.
Yeah.
And it's hard for them to understand shortcuts.
Okay.
And again, for Israelis, it's part of what we are.
Okay.
We like shortcuts. We are kind of we always have shortage of resources and stuff like that. So
and
if
you have
do,
to arrange things very quickly.
Yeah.
That's why you have a lot of things to cut the.
Exactly.
Okay. And so you have 3 kids. What are their names?
Maya, she's my oldest. She's now traveling in the Far East, currently in Thailand on her way to Sri Lanka.
Okay.
She's doing a big journey after the army. Been there for almost 4 months now.
Okay, 4 months.
Hopefully, I'm going to meet her soon. So she's traveling. My second son is Amit. He's currently in the army. So he kind of continued my career and went to learn to be a developer in the army, and now he's a commander in the school of developers in the army. And my little daughter is Dana. She just started high school, doing amazing. Now it's me, my wife, and she at home, and the 2 other kids are outside. So it's like 2 young parents with a single child. So it's kind of different.
Very romantic.
Yeah.
And so your kids know that you work a lot and in a tech world. And my question would be about, do you have any, like, not principle, but messages that you try to bring to your kids? Because you've been to many countries, you've been talking to different people in different nationalities, of different nationalities. So what kind of messages do you try to deliver to your kids? Or you don't try? I mean, just maybe you have...
First, I think the most important thing is for them to find something that is interesting for them. There are many things that you can do today, but you need to figure out what is it that drives you. Don't settle for something that is kind of default. Try to find something that you can shine. Try to find something that you want to be the best at. Try to find something that is you're going to feel like not your work, but actually your hobby. And once you did that, 90% of the problem is solved, because you're going to have the motivation to excel and to keep learning because you like it. It's something that is interesting you. You're not going to suffer from late hours and so on, because you're going to enjoy it. You're going to bring full of energy into what you're doing because you enjoy it again. So I think this is by far the most important thing. Second is that today we are living in a world that is really changing, and many things that used to be in the past are no longer existing today or valid, or are being done in a very completely different way. And one of the things I think is the most crucial skill that you have today is the ability to adjust and learn. And if you have the ability to learn new things, and even better if you are capable of doing it by yourself, this is probably the most important skill that you have. The world is changing all the time.
Every day.
And you need to be able to adapt and to find yourself and kind of to invent yourself every time. My wife used to be a lawyer. She worked as a lawyer for 15 years. And after that, she decided that I don't like being a lawyer anymore. I want to do something else. And she changed completely her direction and become kind of a guru in everything around cooking and stuff like that.
It's so delicious on her photos. Every time I watch and see any kind of bread or whatever she cooks, it's just, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's really hard for us.
It's hard?
In terms of what she's doing amazing stuff.
Yeah,
and
you look very fit, actually.
I have to fight it.
But
and I look at her and the change that she did. I kind of admire her because it requires tons of courage in order to do that. And what I think it's kind of shows also our kids that it's not like you're starting to do something and that's it. You're doomed for the rest of your life. If you want to do a change, it is up to you to actually do the change. And if you want it and you have passion for it, you will be able to do it and you will be able to succeed in it. So this is something that do whatever you feel like is burning in you to do. Do the best you can. Don't settle for being a mediocre in that. Do the best.
And you will be the best.
And push yourself in order to make it the best you can. The best you can might be half of someone else, but as long as this is the best you can do it, that's fine. But don't settle for being half of what you can do. So I think this is kind of, I'm pushing, my wife is kind of,
well,
don't push them.
You're a very great example. I mean, and your wife with this pivot of her career, completely different spheres, and this is like a very great. I mean, you look at your parents and you see that everything actually possible if you really want it. So I think this is amazing. And based on what you said, so do you feel yourself like a very successful professional and family person?
No.
No?
No.
So you feel you could also be...
Yeah, I think that at any given time, I'm kind of, I'm really, I have a lot of criticism against myself.
Okay, so you're a perfectionist.
Usually I'm the worst thinker about what I'm doing and what I can do it better and so on. So it's kind of a hard position because I'm almost never happy about what I'm doing. I think that I can do better and I can improve in this and improve in that, and maybe if I will do this and so on. So it's kind of a complex, but when I kind of take a break for a second and kind of reflect on what I did,
you feel the results.
I feel that I did pretty good. If I'm the most amazing thing I have is my kids, and I couldn't be more proud of them. And I think that as parents we have some contribution to what they are today.
Of course.
So I think that if that part helped them get to the point that they are today,
Then
maybe we didn't do such a...
You did a great job.
we did pretty good.
Yeah,
and also when I look at what I did and in my career, and I think the kind of the best kind of feedback I get is from people that used to work with me in the past and say, we want to work with you again.
Yeah, this is what I say.
This is something that is, really?
Yeah,
You want to work with me again? So you probably had a good time with me. That's good. So.
This feedback, actually, I heard from different people about you that actually they work in a kind of company. In those companies that you met, they actually decided to come because of you, because they used to work with you and they would like to continue. So I think this is one of the unique points about you, that people would like to be connected and would like to work with you. This is one of the great stuff. And you were talking about all the professionalism and family and career. Does Benny dream about something? Do you have any dreams, or are you just working, or maybe you have any plans or ideas that you would like to finally implement or have?
So in terms of career, my dream will be to start my own startup with my son. So this is probably going to have to wait for at least another 5 years until he's going to be out of the army. But if this will happen, and I hope it will be my kind of my happiest moment to start a startup with him. This is career-wise.
Okay.
Other than that, I want to be a grandfather.
Oh.
So no pressure, Maya. So I kind of I feel that family is by far the most important thing, more than work, more than anything. The value of family and being able to be one for the other. and keep a tightly connection between people in the family. This is by far the most important thing. And my dream in that aspect is to be able to go with the bigger family,
yeah.
travel the world with them, travel to see them and stuff like that. This is going to be like crazy.
Okay, this is like a best dream I have ever heard, actually. Probably like one of the things that I usually ask people with the huge story that you have about professionalism. Do you have like suggestions or maybe things that you would like to recommend the young people that are keen? Well, you have already mentioned that while we were talking about your kids, but in terms of technical part of the world and technical job, maybe you would suggest to learn something or to go over any kind of, education, or your suggestion how to become you as a professional and to get to that part of the career.
Yeah. So again, I think that especially the high-tech world is changing in a crazy pace. In order to succeed, you need to love learning, and you need to learn all the time. Your hobby should be learning. You can probably manage if you just be good at what you're doing. There is so much a need for developers, so probably anyone will find something that will be okay for him, but that will be only okay. And if you want to be not okay, I want to be like fully energized and passionate about what I'm doing and to do real change in the world, you need to take it to the next level. You need to be able to learn all the time, to advance, to be the one that brings new stuff, initiatives to the place that you are working in. Don't be shy. If you don't understand something, ask. If you ask things in an intelligent way, no one's going to think that you're stupid. They're just going to think that you want to learn more. So do it. Don't be afraid to fail. Failure is just another step in the way to your next success. And in general, if you don't love what you're doing, probably you're in the wrong place. Yeah, find something that you're passionate about. Find something that you come to the office on a daily basis with a huge smile on your face. Find a place that when the weekend arrives, you think, oh, I want to get to the beginning of the week because I want to start working again on whatever I'm doing. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the family. Enjoy your personal life, but get to the point that you're passionate about doing your job. This way, it's not going to be your job. It's going to be your hobby, and you're going to be like amazing in it.
Okay, thank you. This was a great motto for the young people. Thank you very much again for the interview.
Pleasure.
I was enjoying that, and hopefully that the final result will be also interesting for you. And
I hope so as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.